We just went across the river. We're in Asia already, 7,000 miles later. If that isn't magic, I don't know what is. Here we have the peafowl, India's national bird, the peacocks and peahens, and don't pay any attention to the Canadian geese. We have the white strips in the grass, which are the beautiful peacock feathers. We've reached the end of the peacock mating season. When a peacock successfully mates, he loses those long, beautiful feathers, and they grow back again next year. Thing is, we still might see a peacock or two with beautiful feathers left, and if we do, now we call them bachelors. Deer and antelope that are normally in this field went over the hill on the left-hand side. That means we'll catch up to them in about 8 to 10 minutes when we get there ourselves and get a look at them then. But coming up next, a pair of shacks. They're here to help us tell an interesting WCS conservation story.
WCS.
Hi, my name is Michelle.
Farmers in Indonesia live closely with wild animals, like elephants, which we will see shortly. WCS field staff worked with local leaders and farmers in Indonesia to come up with the Crop Protection Unit. This unit created many different ways for farming to continue in close proximity of wild animals. One strategy was to soak ropes in chili powder and place them around the crops. Elephants do not like chili and leave the farms alone, allowing the farmer and the animals to share the habitat peacefully.
Now we all know that a species that's extinct no longer exists, like the dinosaurs or the dodo.
The dinosaurs.
However, if that wasn't true, then this would be Jurassic World and not the Bronx Zoo. Bronx Zoo it is, though, and these animals are on the verge of extinction. In fact, the Mongolian wild horse, otherwise known as Przewalski's horse, was extinct in nature and only found in zoos for many years. They came to the United States in 1901. Their numbers are now being replenished in areas of China and Mongolia, with herds being contributed by North American and Asian zoos. Quite a few differences between these horses and the domestic ones we're used to seeing. These horses have a squat build, short legs, and an erect mane, which is missing the forelock, the hairs that come down in front of the forehead of a domestic horse. Total of 8 horses in our herd, 6 females, 2 males. I have a note here from one of our field scientists.
I'm Jonathan Slatt, and I'm the Russia and Northeast Asia coordinator for Wildlife Conservation Society. I believe that wildlife has a place on this earth, and my job is to find practical solutions that allow people and wildlife to thrive together. Przewalski's horse went extinct in the wild in the 1960s, and on a recent trip to Kazakhstan, I thought about the ongoing and successful efforts in that country to bring these horses back to the Central Asian steppe. The world needs happy stories, to watch the impossible become possible, and to see hope restored. That's what's happening today with Przewalski's horse.
Captive breeding of Mongolian wild horses started back in 1902. To date, we've had over 50 Przewalski's horse foals that were born right here at the Bronx Zoo.
What do you think that means right here? There's a residence end thing right here. It says it's a note from the residence end. It's a bunch of numbers. What do you think that means?
What is it?
It's a bunch of residence end numbers.
I like this.
Here in this next field, we're looking for 2 endangered species. Start off with that log. Laying down right by it is one of the brow antler deer, more of them coming up on our right. The brow antler deer are known for the curved shape of the male deer's antlers. Though we won't be seeing those antlers today, it's Ladies' Day out. They suffered from a lack of wild land and a lack of wild diet because of farming in their native Cambodia. So much farming, they were starving for lack of a wild diet. They had to subsist on farmers' crops. It's kind of like eating and starving at the same time. Next, after these down logs, you see on the right the Gower, the largest wild cattle in the world. Males stand at over 2,000 pounds, as much as a small car. 6 feet at the shoulder, 10 feet long. With their size and impressive horns, a male Gower can take on almost anything, even a tiger. Suffering from a lack of wild lands and the diseases they can catch from domestic cattle. Horns curved in at the tip, it's a female. Straight up at the tip, it's a male. They're also known as the Indian bison. And more brown antler deer as we continue on. Now you might hear some sounds coming from behind the train. And if you do, that tells you one thing right away. You're in the middle of a concrete jungle, not an Asian one. It's easy to expect that the Bronx Zoo sits in the heart of an urban environment. But the noise you hear behind you, well, that's the Bronx River Parkway. And the wooden fence in front that decreases the noise of traffic for our next animal. It's great for our next animal, keeps them nice and calm. But it works out well for us too, especially since it's a tiger. Tiger stripes are excellent camouflage. They're often difficult to spot. Even our researchers have trouble finding them. They're solitary animals, live alone in the wild. That's why you'll only see one of them in the exhibit at a time. And as we look for the tiger, remain in your seats. Keep those body parts inside the train. As we look for Anakin, a male Siberian tiger.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
8 years old.
You underestimate my power.
It's a variety of animals.
Don't try it.
Pig and deer. Pig, he'll eat about 40 pounds of meat in one sitting. The equivalent of 160 hamburgers. After a meal like that, he usually won't eat again for several days. I can only do about 30 burgers myself. How about you? Now, he's right by the near fence, almost underneath me. And as we make the turn, if you look back, you should get a view if he stays in the same place.
There it is. There's a tiger right there. Shere Khan.
WCS works with many species of tigers in the wild and at the zoo. Here is a note from one of our field scientists about his experience working with rangers to protect tigers in Indonesia.
Hi, my name is Fahri Rahman. I'm helping the rangers of the National Park.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
There was a time when we found some tigers footprints in the jungle. But then we also found that some snares are installed inside the forest, which become threats to the animal. We dismantled the snares to make sure that the tigers are safe.
Coming up on our right, and straight ahead here with their white bellies, the black buck antelope. Smallest antelope in Asia, 3 feet at the shoulder, fully grown. Then down on the right here, at least there was. There we are. The spotted axis deer. They keep their spots all their lives. They've been on display here at the zoo since 1899. Along the road, some Barasinga deer. Barasinga means 12-tined in Hindi. Their antlers can have 12 to 14 points. Oh, and by the way, these 3 animals were the ones that we missed in our first exhibit area. Now imagine a pig with tusks that come up to its snout and curve backwards towards its eyes. This pig is called a babirusa. The fact that the tusks resemble antlers earned the pig its name. Babirusa means pig deer in the Malay language, and they use their tusks to intimidate males and attract females. We have a female here, towards the back there. The ladies do not have tusks. Male with tusks in the next exhibit area. A face only a mother could love. Coming up next, our largest land mammal, no binoculars needed. Look to the back right for Patty and Maxine, our Asian elephants.
And again,
WCS works in the field with both African and Asian elephants. Here is a note from our field scientists who work with Asian elephants.
My name is Donnie Gunayadi, and I'm the Elephant Conservation Coordinator for WCS Indonesia. The first time I saw a Sumatran elephant, I thought, this is a magnificent creature. They will be safe because they are so big. But the truth is, they have declined 50% since the 1980s. Even though rats and insects cause more damage to crops than elephants, because the elephant is so huge, psychologically, it seems more threatening. So when there is conflict, the farmers poison the elephants. In response, we created a crop protection unit to mitigate conflict and send the elephants back into the park. And it's been a huge success. Since we started in 2003,
I love elephants.
And no people have been killed.
So as we exit the elephant zone, we'll be looking for another large mammal. As a matter of fact, here on the road, let your eyes turn right into the mud wallow. And there, taking a mud bath, is Penny, our Indian rhinoceros.
You can see rhinoceros.
A rhino?
Penny, well, she weighs in at 3,500 pounds and can run at 30 miles an hour.
Oh, Dad, look. Wow. There's Penny.
There are less than 2,000 Indian rhinos left in India and Nepal. Here at the Brown Zoo, we care for 5 endangered Indian rhinos. We've taken great care of our rhinos, but you know, caring is one thing. Breeding's the real challenge. Think about this, Mom. A female rhino is pregnant for 16 months.
I actually fed
Can you imagine being pregnant for nearly a year and a half and giving birth to a bouncing 150-pound baby? Baby
That's
stays
gotta
with
hurt.
his mother for 2 to 3 years, so they shouldn't have to pay for college. And weaning can take anywhere from 12 to 16 months. Car B3, young man in the turned cap needs to be seated in a seat, not standing up. Thank you. Coming up next, the original wallows, which they'll bathe their skin in mud to protect their skin from sunburn and insect bites. This one was built in 1977, same time the monorail was completed. Now, the last rhino born here was in the summer of 2013. 2016 rolled around, and they said that that baby was now fully grown. He was sent with the species survival plan to other zoos across the country to help other rhinos, and has been doing that to this very day. Looking out in the field, you may see a small deer there that is actually fully grown. It's known as a hog deer. Short and squat like a hog is how they got their name, running under rather than leaping over things like most deer would do. And more of them towards the left.
Oh, they're over there.
The chocolate-colored deer are the sandbar deer, largest deer in southern Asia. 5 feet at the shoulders, 650 pounds. Males are solitary animals. Females hang out in groups. A male's antlers can grow up to 3 feet long with 3 points on each.
Yeah.
In fact, if you take a look at the trees that are in this exhibit here, you'll notice how they're wrapped in wire. That's because of the antlers and horns in the exhibit that would scrape themselves against the bark of a tree to clean them. Enough bark gets scraped away, the tree dies. Loss of a leafy food source and much needed shade. Wire on the tree means they clean more efficiently, and it saves the bark on the tree. And that's a winning situation for everyone. Towards the right, out in the field with spots, the Formosan Sika deer from Taiwan. They were nearly wiped out in the early 1970s by overhunting and lack of wild lands. Now they have one of the largest herds in the world here at the zoo.
I don't know if you can see them. They're far away. See them? See the deer out there?
Passing this double fence. Now look at the left fence. There's a rare sight known as China's tufted deer. At less than 40 pounds and being extremely shy, they love to hide, so we rarely get to see them. They're normally seen in zoos in mainland China. Check out the back fence just ahead of us now as we come through. And on the right, they have a white tail and rump they use for deer communication, but when they're really upset, they'll bark like a dog and growl too. They're the only monorail animal that stays outdoors all year round. They adore the winter and kind of like the summer.
Squirrel. Yeah. Squirrel. Yeah.
Now we're coming to the tallest point in our exhibit, back over the Bronx River at 35 feet above the water. The WCS knows how important it is to upkeep the greenway here at the Bronx River, not only for plants and animals, but for Bronx residents alike. Whether it's the Bronx River in New York or the Irrawaddy River in Asia, rivers and streams are resources for wildlife everywhere. And as the fall keeps moving along, you may want to check back again, because I think it's just going to get more and more colorful out there. Now look at all these wild goats in this mountainous terrain. When the horns are curly, it's the markhor, the largest goat in the world.
Yeah, look at that, man.
Markhor means snake eater, and the legend has it that the markhor ate a snake. Came out of the top of his head, made his horns all curly.
That's awesome.
I'm staring into your soul.
Wow. That's amazing. Amazing.
Mothers and babies here on the field. And more of those alpha males with those long curly horns.
Yeah.
But here the horns are just curved back and not curly. That means that is the Himalayan tar, well adapted to life on the mountain slopes and woodlands of the Himalayan mountains. But you know, all of these exhibits a goat does not necessarily make. So let's change things up and have a look at a red panda. Right here in the tree. People are fascinated by the color of their fur.
It's
Shifu.
Shifu.
The red panda is called Hun-Hun, which roughly translated means firefox. We thought the red panda was related to the black and white giant panda of China. Turns out they're only related by diet. After all, the word panda means bamboo eater.
Oh, what is that? It's not a monkey. It's not a monkey. It's different.
Master Shifu.
Let's get the arms inside, please, young lady. As we make this turn, our journey is almost at an end. You've heard from some of our animal experts, both here and in the field. Maybe even tried a science skill or two while on the ride. Now, we hope you've been inspired by what you've heard and seen today. The Bronx Zoo is part of the Wildlife Conservation Society, or WCS. They take care of 5 parks here in New York City, and that's the Bronx Zoo, New York Aquarium, Central Park Zoo, Queens Zoo, and Prospect Park Zoo. We also manage scientists in over 300 sites in over 60 countries around the world. If you'd like to become a member and help save wildlife and wild lands, all you need to do is go to Zoo Center or any membership card to join.
Kids these days don't know the rules.
Now we're going to make a short stop to allow our computer to reset. Then we'll be heading for our platform of departure. This will be a short stop. Stay in your seats. Thank you for your patience, and we'll be moving shortly.
We just took a stop. So now I'm gonna stop the video.